I just shared a moment. Good evening, how's everybody doing? First of all, I want to say something from the heart. I'm very honored to be here to introduce this very special person to us all. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight because some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name is Nat, I go by MC Flipside. So I've been able to survive this. I told Chris I'm more nervous to introduce him about this book than I was when I performed at the Junos in 2012 with Lights and Deadmau5, okay? Because Hullabaloo means something to us all. And I don't want to get choked up right now. But what it was a community and a time that we could really connect with each other. People that were weren't afraid to be themselves and to express themselves through music and dance, where there were people that sometimes would think, oh, you know, Freaky Flipside, oh, they're just trying to sell records, but Chris saw just two nerds from North York that were trying to just do something different, and what I saw was someone who never judged, who always listened, who always wanted to see you represent who you were from your heart and your body and your soul before it was called a safe space. Hullabaloo is where I met some of the most generous and kindest people on a dance floor, and I mean that from my heart. So it's with great pleasure and honor that I introduce someone who embodies all the qualities that we want human beings to have. Empathy, gratitude, humility, love. That's what Chris Frolic represented. And I don't want to say any more about his music because I want his journey to resonate through every word that he manifested in this book, Requiem for My Rave. And I cannot wait to hear him share these wonderful stories. Please, everyone join me for a beautiful, loud, and loving reception and applause for the one and only Chris Frolic in the house. Can everyone stand up and give the person next to you a hug? I'm serious. Oh my gosh. He didn't do it for this reason, but can I get a big round of applause, please, for Natalie, MC Flipside. I want to share a little story about my friend, Natalie. A lot of people don't know, but back in the day, we used to have very deep, long, meaningful phone conversations, and I emailed them this year. We haven't spoken in a very long time. And it's funny to reflect and think about how the Happy Hardcore DJ and Mr. Radio were actually good friends. And we talked on the phone this year for the first time in 14, 15 years. Yep. And it was like time had not passed. We had a great 90-minute phone call, and it was not even about reminiscing about the old days. It was about things that are important to us today and where we are in our lives now. And I'm very grateful that Flipside Natalia was able to come here tonight, so thank you.
Shooting star!
Oh, gosh. So I wrote a book. It's been 14 years in the making. I started on it in 2005, back when we were wrapping up Hullabaloo at All Good Things. I started my research and collecting my notes. And I finished my first draft in 2009. And I hit save, and then 10 years passed by. And I didn't realize it then, but I needed those 10 years to heal and reflect and
Well, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but I've been in therapy the last couple of years, and I share that freely because I want to blow away the stigmas about mental health. And I was finally able to heal properly enough to start telling my stories in a real, authentic way. And I'm very pleased that the 2019 version of me is able to finish this book, because it brings that real depth to it that would have been missing before. And I'm looking forward to reading it. Thank you. When I was trying to think of a title for this book, the title was the very last thing that I did. And the book was complete, and Robin and I were sitting in my office, and we were trying to brainstorm titles. And I knew I wanted the word rave in it. It had to have the word rave, because we represent what rave was and how important it was. And then I came up with I remember sitting at my desk, and sitting in my chair. Robin was sitting on the sofa, and I went quiet. And then I lifted my head, and I said, what does requiem mean? It just came to me. So I Googled it, and a requiem is an act of remembrance. And I thought, wow. And then the title evolved a little bit more, and it became Requiem for My Rave. And the my in this particular story is this deeply personal story of mine that I told in the book, and also the rave that I created, which was Hullabaloo. Tonight's event is called One Last Group Hug, and the group hug title is very important to Hullabaloo. We've used the title 3 times in the past. Each of them were very important parties for us. And when Robin asked me what my plans were with a book party, like she was just thinking of a reading somewhere or something like that, and I was inspired again with this idea of using group hug again for one more time, coming back to the sacred venue of ours one last time. Woo! Thank you.
Thanks, Athena.
Thank you, Athena, for not having sold it yet. You can sell it now. We're done. All right, so I'm going to share a couple parts from this book, and I'm going to invite a couple people to also share the stage with me. Excuse me for a second.
How dare you?
The noise was deafening, unlike any noise you might hear anywhere else. Nothing like this. Thousands of young partiers, around 3,000 of them, blowing their whistles and screaming simultaneously. It pierced into your brain, but it was also the sound of pure joy. It was also almost 6 in the morning. This particular morning was a cold Canadian one at the Docks Entertainment Complex in the Toronto Portlands. Really the middle of nowhere, but with a beautiful view across a slice of Lake Ontario to the tall modern buildings of downtown Toronto. The lake was frozen over, with the wind blowing snow across its glass surface. Inside the venue, the windows were steamy with condensation from the humidity of thousands of dancers, creating running tears on the inside glass. The city was sleeping as the ear-piercing noise filled the club. There was a rave happening here, one of the illicit all-night events of myth and legend. This wasn't any old rave, however. This was a hullabaloo, affectionately referred to as Hulla, one of history's most celebrated and revered rave promotions. The members of this crowd weren't just ravers, but were the most colorful collection of Hulla ravers you would ever come across. The noise was meant in appreciation for me, Chris, better known to a generation of ravers as Anabolic Frolic, their DJ of the past hour, and also the promoter of Hullabaloo, this very event that they so appreciated. The venue was packed, a sold-out night, one of many for me in Hullabaloo. As a DJ, I was responsible for the best-selling electronic music series of its time, Happy to Be Hardcore. I had single-handedly popularized a unique style of electronic music imported from the UK to North America. A whole generation of young people celebrated me and my music and the gift of receiving it from me. A journalist for a major US magazine had flown to Toronto to cover this event. The legend of Hullabaloo was out there. We had built a reputation as one of the greatest rave experiences that there was, and people were traveling from all over the world to attend. The journalist was here to document this phenomenon, along with a photographer shooting photos of the revelers, their costumes, their joy. I had almost finished my set. I had one last song to play. A raver had asked if he could propose to his girlfriend on stage immediately following my set, a celebration of their love in front of everyone. I told him yes, to hang close. I'd invite him to the stage. I was about to wrap up my set and pose for a photo on stage with the thousands of ravers behind me, the money shot for that magazine article. I was getting ready for that and ready to invite the young couple. I spotted my good friend, Will Chang, better known at Hullabaloo as Club Master Will. At the side of the stage, he approached me. The guy, he's dead. My heart didn't just sink, it was crushed. How the hell could this happen at our events? There had been a stabbing earlier in the night, a young man taken to hospital. Now I'd just been hit with this news and had to suck it up for a photo in front of the ravers. And what exactly was this article going to cover now with this news happening while the reporters were in the building? This photo, the same one used on the cover of this book, would eventually lead off a huge article in Herb magazine, the largest electronica-related magazine in the US. I love this photo for the visual of it, but it's also a permanent reminder of the news that I'd just been given seconds before. I forced myself to address the crowd as if nothing was wrong. I don't even recall what I said, other than thanking them for coming, and then I handed the mic over to the raver to propose. She accepted, and they hugged on stage as the crowd blew their whistles. Such a dichotomy of emotions and events happening right in front of me, a literal celebration of life amidst death. I went to the doc's main office to sit. Robin, my girlfriend, was there, still wearing the body of a giant dog mascot costume she had been dancing on stage in during my set. Her head looked small, poking out the top, her red hair in braids. Will came in and sat with us quietly. I don't know how we'll ever have another Hullabaloo, I told him solemnly. It hurt to say these words. The work we did with Hullabaloo and the lives we affected really mattered to a lot of young people. I felt tremendous responsibility to them. However, the real reason I said this, and the shocking thing beyond a murder happening under our roof, was we were only 18 months removed from another death, a drug overdose that had happened at a past Hullabaloo called the View to a Thrill. Another young man had died in the midst of this revelry. I had always thought that the events of the View to a Thrill were a 1 in a million. That was the only way I was able to keep doing business. We all fought hard to save our scene because we believed in it as a positive force. So many lives touched, friendships made, romances, marriages, children. Now someone was dead, again, and murdered this time. How does one keep going when touched by death twice? How could you ever think it couldn't happen again if it did indeed happen again? The police were already in the building and had been for hours, starting their investigation when the initial ambulance had been called. They would now be taking every single person's name and information on the way out as a potential witness to a murder. This was how the night was going to end. Somewhere else, a family was getting the worst phone call imaginable. I felt sick, nauseous. My chest was tight. Lightning had struck me a second time. Was it just misfortune and bad luck that this happened to go down at my event? 2 people were now dead under my watch, with all the collateral trauma that entailed. Even though these horrible incidents were not caused by my hands, I was forever tied to them. I didn't know how much I could take of this. It had been bad the last time. How much worse would it be finding myself at the center of this kind of attention once again? The police and authorities saw me as an evil predator of young people, packing thousands of them into dark rooms where they dined on ecstasy and repetitive electronic music and strobing lights. My fans saw me as a pioneer of a new youth culture movement, of promoting peace and love, celebrating unity, a facilitator creating a group consciousness, giving them an outlet to be themselves, design new fashion, meet like-minded people, celebrate the music that they loved, and maybe get an opportunity to change the world, a world better than the one we came into. This was bigger than me, and it was important to a lot of people. Should we abandon all of that? How should I handle this? Where do I go from here? How much trouble am I in? I had no idea at the time. So those were the stakes that I was playing with, and this was a story that I've been unable to tell until now, and that's the story that leads this book. I was inspired as I worked on this book this year, as I reread my manuscript. People were going to ask themselves, why did this person put themselves through this? Why did he keep doing this? And I was inspired with an idea. I'm a nerd, and I actually have every email I've ever received going back to about 1994. And I was able to go through all these old emails from people, and every chapter in the book, there's about 60 chapters, has an email from someone who was giving me words of encouragement, and they were why I was doing this. So I'd like to invite someone here to read the email that immediately follows that chapter.
To Anabolic Frolic from Jedi. I've been a supporter of the rave scene for many years now, and I understand what you're going through. Keep your chin up and look for the silver lining. Things can only get better.
Thank you. Some better days. I feel the need to jump the needle here to one of our better days, a time when nothing like this was even on the radar. I've always referred to the summer of 1999 as our own summer of love, the arguable peak of the rave scene while it still clung to its ideals and none of the bad stuff had crept in yet. June 21st, 1999 was the date of our second anniversary event titled Birthday Funtopia 2. It was as classic a rave as you could imagine. The location was a gutted old bingo hall building in northern Ontario, surrounded by highways and tons of space to make as much noise as you wanted. The interior was semi-demolished, prepping to turn the space into a nightclub. Tonight it was a bare building to be used for a single purpose. The front entrance had a large trash bin beside it for the demolition, but that didn't affect our plans. The indoor main arena could hold thousands. Large rear doors opened to the back, which held an outdoor stage under a big top tent, a fenced-in chill area that even included a 30-foot tall bright yellow and red inflatable slide. The weather on this day would be favorable to us, perfect June weather, allowing everyone to spend as much time outside as inside. Hullabaloo had grown from hundreds of people 2 years earlier to the sold-out event of 5,000. All the tickets had been sold in advance, which had become a Hullabaloo tradition. It was the peak of the candy raver fashions, which Hullabaloo was at the forefront of. Everywhere you looked were party kids in homemade fun-fur overalls, brightly colored beaded necklaces, hats, kooky costumes as creative as the people who made them. It was 1 a.m., time for the main Anabolic Frolic anniversary set. The main room was packed to capacity, filled with dedicated Hulla ravers wanting to share this historic moment. The MC spoke over the 75,000 watt sound system. A tower of bass bins and speakers stood to either side of the stage. Trussing, holding dozens of intelligent lights, filled the room from one side all the way to the other, all of it built from scratch, all day long by dedicated technicians. It was meant to overwhelm and overstimulate the attendees. At the center of the stage was the altar, a table with 2 Technics 1200 turntables and a mixer. I stood behind it, smiling out at the crowd, appreciating this moment. The room was filled to bursting with ravers, an ocean of bodies appearing as shadows in the dark dance floor dotted by glow sticks. The MCs, whose job it was to compliment the DJ and work the crowd, occupied a stage in front of the turntables. MC, E by Gum. Right, time for my little speech as per usual. Right, as it was said earlier, the first Hullabaloo was started off with 500 people at the E Network. That place is closed down now, but it all started off with a dream of a happy hardcore DJ. Goes 0 to hero in a matter of minutes. This is absolutely brilliant, right? MC JD. The man responsible for giving you 2 years of wicked vibes, wicked parties, wicked atmosphere, wicked music, the one, the only, Mr. Anabolic Frolic. The crowd was unleashed. The sound was deafening. Sustained noise exposure like this would clearly cause permanent hearing damage. MC E by Gum. Okay, one more thing, party kids. Last year, we couldn't believe we made it 1 whole year. And this is what we did. We sung Happy Birthday to Hullabaloo. Right. We're going to sing Happy Birthday to Hullabaloo on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thousands of voices sang along to Happy Birthday to Hullabaloo, a rave. It was both beautiful and would appear extremely odd to anyone not there. After they finished, there was another eruption of noise. It was now time for me to take over. I had my first 12-inch piece of vinyl queued up and ready. I pressed the play button at the corner of the turntable and slid the mixer over. The first heavy beat of my first record blasted through the speaker stacks. The room shook while pyro effects blew overhead. The unmistakable smell of sulfur from fired-off pyrotechnics filled the air, masking the cigarette odor and smoke that normally filled the room. The place was electric and would stay that way. The sustained energy, the dancing, the noise. This was what Hullabaloo was all about. This was why they came. This was what they wanted, and they got it, and were unified in it. Around halfway through my set, the MCs motioned to me to bring the track down. I lowered the volume to the end of the track. MC E by Gum. Right. If you've been to Hullabaloo before, you know I always make my DJ, Anabolic Frolic, stop his set. Well, today, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make Anabolic Frolic come up to the microphone and speak to you lot. If you want to hear Anabolic Frolic, make some noise. Oh, fuck. E by Gum was being a sadist now. He had gone completely off script. At this stage of my career, I was not one to get on the mic. I did few interviews. Old video footage of this era and before never showed me speaking on camera. I always spoke through my music and the events. In later years, I would develop a radio show and get much better in front of the crowd, but today was not that day. E by Gum. Get up here, Frolic. The crowd blew their whistles and horns. Of course they wanted me to get up from behind the decks and in front of them. I smiled nervously as I walked around the edge of the turntables to the front of the stage. I was handed the mic. I was awed even more by the crowd being so close. As if by an ocean breakwall, all eyes were on me from among the mass of humanity and colors of the crowd. I made eye contact with a young woman, maybe 18 years old, with the biggest smile on her face. She had lit up alien antenna sticking up out of her hair, blinking. She held out her hand, and I slid my palm across it as I moved up to the front. Somewhere, somehow, something came to me from pure instinct. I don't think I can hear you loud enough yet, I challenged the crowd. My mind raced what to do next as the crowd's noise pierced my eardrums. Now you know the feeling, mate, whispered E-Bike into my ear. I laughed nervously. What do I do at this moment? How do I not look like an ass? How do I harness the energy of this crowd? Then something came to me. I've only got 2 words to say. Happy hullabaloo! The crowd erupted. What more was there to say? I consider the events we held from late 1998 until this night in 1999 as a string of perfect raves, historic and world-class. We didn't have a care in the world. It was all about this moment, being a part of it. We didn't even fully understand what it was, but it was pure. We had no idea what might be coming, and that didn't matter. I'm going to invite our next email reader up to the stage.
Chris, thank you for the pleasure of doing this. I'm short. Get close, okay. From Lisa Loves Anabolic to Anabolic Frolic. I am in awe of you. I was at the Hullabaloo party last weekend, my first, and have never in my life seen anything like it. We drove all the way up from Chicago just to see you, and we had no idea what we were in for, no matter how much hype we had heard. You are truly a man of vision, integrity, and your love of the music and all of us shone through the entire night. It was time to sing Happy Birthday. I began to cry uncontrollably. I have never been part of something so amazing. Thank you, Chris. I feel I owe you a personal debt for what you have given me and all of us. Thank you, Chris. Oh, I already said that. But hey, it's true. We all owe a personal debt. And what you've given us. Good luck with everything you do. Keep those ravers smiling the only way you can.
Thank you very much. Can I get Robin to the stage, please? So this is Robin. Robin, my story, ends up being a major part of the book, and that's us. That's the first photo of us from 1997. And as I was going through the old emails, I actually came across an email from Robin, a fan letter.
Oh, Jesus. I feel like I need to put on a voice for this, because it's just, yeah. Anabolic Frolic. Hi, I'm a baby raver from Southern California, meaning I just started raving, because I guess you wouldn't know what that term meant. But all my friends are accomplished ravers, and I've been listening to music for a while now. The first happy hardcore I ever heard was when someone let let me borrow Happy to Be Hardcore. I was hooked from the start. Listened to you spin live on Groove Radio, and a few months back, I even taped it. I am now a happy hardcore convert for life. Exclamation, exclamation, happy face. Loved your site, love your music. You're adorable. Oh yeah, I'm female. In parentheses, oh yeah, I'm female, it's okay. Next time you play in Southern California, I don't care if I have to sell my soul to the Christian devil to get there. I will make it. Plur and take care, Robin.
That email was sent June 7th, 1997. You can send me something. So I'll just share a couple things. So it was really cool to weave Robin and my story in this book. It wasn't all rainbow and sunshine, and again, just a deep personal story. It was very nice to be in a place now where we can share this. And Robin and I met someone some years ago who was married, had been married for 20 years. And he described his marriage as the first 10 years were better than the previous 10 years. And I always found that a very peculiar thing to have heard. And then as Robin and I approached our 20th anniversary together, which was a couple of years ago now, I realized the previous 10 years had been the best 10 years for us. And then as I think about it, the most recent 5 years had been the best years. And I know a lot of you know Robin and I, we've always been together and always seen together. So it's a great privilege and thrill to stand on stage here in front of all you guys and be able to share our story. So thank you. You know what? I'm going to invite, Robin just suggested, Gavin and Connor, why don't you come to the stage, please? Yeah.
Some of you will undoubtedly have been in the audience when we announced our pregnancy with Gavin. That was a huge event. People were very excited about the coming of the first Hula baby, who is now... Are you okay, second Hula baby? And then this was the reunion baby who I announced on stage at our reunion party that I thought I was ready for a second child, and 2 weeks later we were pregnant with this one. Thanks, Chris, for jumping right on that. So our first Hula baby and our reunion baby.
You guys can go, thank you. Thank you. So as part of my healing and recovery and being able to tell this story, I started at the beginning of this year, I started digitizing VHS tape and uploading it to YouTube. And one of the videos that I digitized was the proposal to Robin recorded at WEMF 2002. And I uploaded it to YouTube, and we brought the kids into my office and we showed them this video of their dad spinning on stage. They'd never seen it before. And Connor, I asked him, what do you think? And he said, this is weird. So I'm really thrilled that they got a little taste of what Daddy did, and here tonight they get to see their daddy on stage again. And I made these prototype shirts, and I don't know if they'll be for sale or what, but I always wanted to do a tour shirt, and it has all the dates and names of all their parties on the back. And I'm going to try and produce them, but I did produce a couple prototypes, and my kids have been wearing them tonight. And there is a date on the very bottom of November 19th, 2019. Yeah. One last group hug. So I'm very thrilled and very happy that my kids got a little taste of Hula and they could say they were there. If you haven't already had a chance to get a copy of the book, my kids are selling them at the back of the room. And I'll be hanging out afterwards to sign copies and take more pictures with everybody. My closing thoughts. It's the year 2019, and the fact that we could do something like this, and a bunch of you came out to celebrate something that meant a lot to all of us, is very humbling to me to be standing here in front of you. And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude to all of you for coming and being part of this night and celebrating this book. And
You deserve it.
I'm going to, I wrote some notes here. I'm just going to read what I wrote here. So I did some doodling this morning just to see what I was inspired to write, and I'm just going to share what I wrote. When I ponder what it meant to us that we thought we might change the world, I believe it was the unity that we promoted. I don't want people to pine for a bygone era, but now I ask myself, what were the lessons that we learned, and how might that be applied to something completely new? Just like we did before, it is possible to create new community, new human development, new connection, but do so hopefully without the cheat of a drug or extreme risk. And how might I be a bridge from those experiences? The creativity and the connecting the dots that no one else sees. And that's what I like to focus my attention now. So, thank you. Thank you for coming. And Frolic.